So, what if I told you there was a way to turn those risky, heart pounding bets in the stock market into calm, calculated, confident wins? Let's dive into that. We're going to break down a really powerful strategy called the 1% probe. And trust me, it's a blueprint that can totally change the way you trade. It all kicks off with a dream we've probably all had, right? Meet Mansi Suryawanshi. Like a lot of us, she jumped into the market with these huge, exciting hopes, looking for that one massive win that changes everything. But oh boy, did reality hit hard. Her first trade was the classic rookie mistake. She went all in, put everything into one stock, basically running on pure hope instead of a real plan. And the result? A brutal crash that just wiped out her savings. That exact painful mistake? Well, that's the problem we're here to solve today. So here's our game plan. We're going to start by dissecting that first mistake. Then I'll introduce you to the solution, the 1% probe. From there, we'll get into how you listen to the market and build on your wins, how you manage your risk and your emotions, and finally, we'll put you on a clear path to becoming a much smarter trader. All right, let's really dig in here. Let's talk about this one core problem that trips up so many new traders. Because honestly, understanding why you fail is the absolute first step towards figuring out how to win. So what's the big lesson here? It's pretty simple, actually. Dreams are the fuel, for sure. But a strategy, that's the engine. Winning in the market, like consistently winning, it's not about getting lucky. It's about having a system, an approach you can use over and over again. And that brings us right to the strategy itself. I want you to think of the 1% probe as more than just a tactic. Think of it as your insurance policy, your safety net against those huge account-crushing losses we just talked about. So what is it? Well, the 1% probe is just beautifully simple. Instead of buying everything you want all at once, you just start with a tiny piece, like 1%. This small trade is basically your scout. You send it out into the market to gather intel and answer one critical question. Is my idea actually correct? Right now. Now this right here shows you the huge difference in mindset. The amateur trader goes all in, betting on a sure thing, which just leads to massive risk and emotional chaos. But the pro uses a tiny probe to test the waters, to ask the market a question. The risk is tiny and the emotions stay completely in check. Okay, so you've sent your little scout into the market. What happens next? Let's get to the next step because this is where you learn how to turn those small, correct little tests into really significant wins. Here's the most important part. The result of your probe is direct feedback from the market. It's not just random noise, it's a clear answer. And really, there are only two answers you need to be listening for. Okay, first scenario. Your probe immediately shows a profit, even a small one. That's the market waving a big green flag at you. It's basically saying, hey, your analysis was spot on, your timing is good. That is your signal to start building. The technique is called pyramiding. You start with your little probe. If it works, you add a bit more as the stock moves up. If it keeps going, you add an even bigger chunk. You're literally building a strong, profitable position on a foundation that's already proven to be a winner, not just one based on hope. But what if the probe shows a loss? This feedback is just as valuable. The market is sending you a crystal clear signal, not right now. Maybe your whole idea is wrong, or maybe your timing is just a little off. The rule here, and this is straight from the legendary Jesse Livermore, is simple. Cut it, and cut it fast. And here is a perfect, real-world example from Mansi. She put a small probe in an auto stock. It dropped 2%, and she got out. Her gut was probably screaming to wait, but the strategy said cut it. 2 weeks later, that stock crashed 15%. That tiny, controlled loss saved her from a disaster. That is the probe acting as your insurance. This brings us to the absolute bedrock that makes this entire strategy work. Because a tactic, any tactic, is pretty useless if you don't have the right mindset. You have to manage your risk and get a handle on your emotions. Look, these are the non-negotiables. You always have an exit plan before you even get in. That's your stop loss. You never risk too much on any single idea. That's position sizing. And maybe most important of all, you have to be patient. Haste is your absolute worst enemy in the market. At the end of the day, your biggest battle isn't with the market. It's with these two guys, fear and greed. Fear makes you panic sell at the worst possible moment. Greed pushes you to be reckless and hold on way too long. The 1% probe is your shield against both because it keeps the stakes small and the decisions logical. So, as we bring this all together, let's just zoom out for a second. The 1% probe is so much more than a clever way to enter a trade. It's a fundamental shift in how you think about trading. It's a whole new mindset. And the power of this approach? It's timeless. I mean, just look at the legend, Jesse Livermore, back in 1915. He was completely broke, his confidence was shattered, but he waited patiently for weeks, put out a small probe in Bethlehem Steel, and when the market proved him right, he pyramided that trade into one of the greatest comebacks in history. Okay, so you're probably thinking, I'm in, how do I start? Here's your action plan. Keep your probes super small. Learn the basics of when to enter, like at key price levels. You've got to keep a trading journal to learn from every trade. And you have to actively work on keeping your emotions cool. This is your checklist. When you really boil it all down, this whole strategy builds the 3 pillars of all successful trading. It gives you the patience to wait for the perfect pitch, the discipline to stick to your rules no matter what, and the mindset to see every single trade, win or lose, as a chance to learn. So, I'll leave you with this one final critical question, the one you need to ask yourself before every single trade you ever make, because your answer to this question will determine whether you're just gambling or if you're actually trading like a pro.